Good evening. It is now 5:30 p.m. on June the 2nd. It's time to call this budget workshop, special called meeting of the San Felipe Del Real CISD Board of Trustees to order. This meeting has been duly posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551. We'll start with roll call.
Ms. Becky Chavez is not present. Mr. Brian Weston is not present. Show myself, Diego Almaraz, present. Mr. Joshua Overfelt.
Present.
Mr. Emilio Galindo, show him absent. Ms. Amy Haynes.
Here.
Ms. Linda Guanajuato Webb.
Present.
Sir, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Quorum is established. At this time, we will start with opening ceremonies. We'll begin with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Thank you. And now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we will go right into item 3, which is our budget workshop, the projected revenue and expenses. Ms. Childress.
Good evening, President Overfelt, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This evening, we're going to take another look at our 26-27 interactive budget workbook. We have continued to do work on this, and we have added a couple of options that we would like for you to consider this evening. You have received a USB drive that does have the interactive workbook on it this evening, so you are able to take that home and view it at a later time. So the first tab we're going to look at is the general pay increase tab. No changes have been made to this tab. This was the information that was provided to us at our first workshop from TASB. This is the TASB pay maintenance salary study that they do for us. We still have the 3 options, the first being a 2% increase to the midpoint for a total of $1,909,401. The second option would be a 3% increase for a total cost of $2,611,324. And the third option that we have is for a 4% increase to the midpoint, which would be a cost increase to our general budget of $3,327,407. For the purpose of this evening's presentation at this time, we have selected the 2% increase with the cost of the $1.9 million for this presentation. The next tab that we have is our personnel tab. So we have added a couple of options here for you to consider. The first couple we had already gone over. The first 2 are an increase to our athletic stipends. And we have an option of a 50% increase of the total cost that we would like to possibly consider, and a 100% increase to the athletic stipends. The 50% would be a cost of $76,112. The 100% increase that we would like for you to possibly consider would be $152,223. Neither of those have been chosen for the purpose of this workbook this evening. The next item we have is the Curriculum and Instruction Director position. We will not be continuing that. We are removing that for the 26-27 year. So that will be a savings of $135,019 for salary plus benefits. We also are going ahead and deleting some positions that we've had on hold due to the middle school and some reorganization. That would be a cost savings of $500,000. We also would like for you to consider an option of reducing our critical needs assistance by about 40%. That would be about an estimated 24 positions. That would be a cost savings of $781,500. And then we also have our math curriculum coordinator. We're moving that to at the last board meeting, we approved a LIFT grant, math grant coordinator position, and they will be converting to that. So it would be a cost savings of $45,739. Those last four options are selected as yes for the purpose of this workbook at this time. So it would be a cost savings of $1,462,258 for us for the purpose of this workbook.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Ms.
sorry.
Childress.
For-
Mr. Overfelt. I don't know if y'all have any questions on any of those items before we move on. If you don't, I would like to explain at least one of them.
I'm sure the one that would have the most questions would be the CNA reduction, so I'm going to let you I'm sure that's the one you want to explain?
Yes,
Yeah?
sir.
Okay, go ahead.
The CNA expense, the critical needs aids, is by far one of our largest unfunded mandates to provide critical needs assistance to students in some of the units. Legally, we have to provide the critical needs aids for specified needs that the students have. But in almost all cases, the students have the critical needs aid for the entire day. In discussing the issue with the board's attorney, he clarified or reaffirmed that it's not needed for the entire day, and it's not needed to be a dedicated critical needs aid. Some students may need help with bathroom issues, toileting, diaper changing. Others may need some assistance in transitioning to a class, but most probably don't need it during physical activity time or other activities. We think that we can reduce that by about, well, we think we can reduce it by a lot, but at least by 40%. It's not going to be a popular decision, but right now our budget for critical needs aids is
Salaries alone is a little over $2 million. Then we have additional about $600,000 in consultants and supplies, things like that.
So it's a significant reduction, and it's one that we would begin addressing as soon as the budget was approved.
And I only get about $500,000 for our SHARS reimbursement at this time in revenue.
So I guess the elephant in the room question is, would that be through attrition or is that going to be a RIF?
None of our critical needs assistants are they're temporary positions. They're not even like our aides. So it's a year-to-year contract. Now, I don't have the information in terms of how many are expecting to come back this coming year, Ms. Childress, but so we could probably provide that to the board in the update.
Yes. I currently have 59 positions. I would have to check to see if I have any vacancies at this time, if any of those are vacancies.
So the vast majority of the CNAs or all of the CNAs are within all the different units is where we see them, or would it be outside shadowing individuals who would not necessarily be in a unit but are mainstreamed, stuff like that, or?
They're primarily in the unit, but there are some that shadow students throughout the day. Again, the breakdown is probably something that we can get from the special education department. Okay.
Okay. All right. Anyone on this side have any questions for right now about that particular topic?
The only comment that I have, Mr. Overfeld, is that any CNI that is needed or requested has to go through the ARD. So there has to be an ARD committee making that determination that there is a CNI needed.
Yes,
At
ma'am.
least that's my understanding, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Haynes, anything?
No, not yet.
Not yet, okay. Mr. Amadas?
I'd like to see how many CNAs service students full-time, if we can get that. I know you said that the board update would provide some of that. So you said 59 current CNAs, is that right? So, and if we're looking at this, we're going to reduce 24, that would leave us with
That would be an estimate of the 40%.
estimated,
yes,
more or
sir.
less, okay. And the reason I asked for the amount of kids or CNAs servicing our students is to make sure we have enough to fully service our students the way they need to be serviced daily. Yeah, I think I'd love to see that.
Yes, sir.
We're legally bound to service them because it's already been established in the art. It's just not full-time. And I know that a lot of parents would like the full-time aide, and I understand why, but that is not how the school district is funded. And it's just difficult to keep providing this service. We used to fund a lot of it through the SHARS money, but that has been significantly reduced. So Ms. Children made a comment that we get about 500,000 in SHARS, but how much do we spend for the SHARS consultants?
Of about 35,000.
Okay,
For-
so-
Well, I mean, for the, sorry, for this software, but I know special ed uses the funding for other consultants and things that they use.
Yep.
But about 600,000, to not
Yep.
include the salaries.
Okay. And where does that funding come from?
The SHARS funding? SHARS funding, it comes from some of the specific services that are provided to students, direct services. For example, diaper changing, transportation. It used to be where we would get SHARS funding for a whole lot of services, but here recently, by recently, within the last 2 years,
Yes, sir.
they significantly cut for what we are able to bill for, and now it's all only direct services. I don't even, what was the latest, ma'am? We're not able to bill for,
So for instance, the critical needs assistance, I used to be, so we bill the salaries of our teachers, of our monitors, like Dr. Rios said, any supplies we use, any special ed services that the children, if it's, have an IEP and they're Medicaid eligible, we can use those. We used to be able to use the CNAs as an expense, but now they came back and said unless they are a critical needs aid that on the IEP states that it is a medical necessity, we cannot use the salaries or the expenses of the critical needs aid assistance anymore. And the majority, to my understanding, the majority of those CNAs, they're not being used for medical necessities on the IEPs.
Okay.
Ms. Chavez, anything?
Well, my question was answered as to how many CNAs, 59?
59, yes,
Correct?
ma'am.
Now, how many are funded full-time, or are all of them funded full-time?
Yes, ma'am, they're all locally funded, full-time.
So if 24 are going to be reduced from the 59, is that correct or not? More or
it's a
less?
recommendation.
That leaves 30-something, 35?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. It's- Do we not have more students that would need full-time or not? I don't know.
The answer is that some students may need a full-time CNA,
Yes,
but most do not.
okay.
And that's going to be the difficult part because, for example, a student going to recess would not need, most students would not need a full-time CNA.
Okay.
That's one example. It's going to vary from student to student, but we would have to do a complete study, visit with the parents of the students, share with them how it's going to be used, explain to them the funding mechanism because they're not that's not part of the discussions that we have with them, and move forward. Again, the board still has to consider this and see if you agree with our recommendations. But we would be within the law. It's not a comfortable decision, but one other option that we didn't put up here that the commissioner put out there for everybody to use a couple of years ago was to increase class sizes. That's not up here. We could just unilaterally say that we're going to increase from 22 to 1 to 25 to 1. And that would also save on personnel. We chose not to put that up here because that affects 100% of the students. But we have options to continue to reduce the budget deficit. That's just not one that we're willing to put up here yet, unless we're directed to do so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. The next tab that we have added to the workbook is we have two tabs that have to do with travel. The first has to do with employee travel. And so what we did was I took each of the workbooks that had any employee travel. Now, this is not local mileage to reimburse them for trips that they make within town between campuses. This would be for out-of-town travel that they would do. And at this time, we have them all selected as no, but it could offer a savings of $160,697 if those were to be selected. The next tab has to do with student travel. So again, we took workbooks. This is mostly athletics it's for overnight travel consisting of more than one night. So most of it is tournaments, not district meets or anything like that. Again, at this time, they are selected no. We also included campus field trips that we do budget for. Again, selected no at this time, but it could generate a cost savings of $201,321 for your consideration.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
You said those are tournaments?
So the majority of it it's for, because most of them are multi-night, it's for anything that they have to stay overnight, so lodging and things like that. Those are the ones that we looked at, not just the day trips to participate.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So as an example, Delro Tennis goes to Kerrville, plays on Friday, comes back, gets up the next morning, goes back to Kerrville for Saturday play for those who qualified for the Saturday round.
Yes.
Thank you, because I was just I was like, but what if so we're taking two,
Yes.
having to go back and
They have
forth?
to go back and forth, yes. And it is like, we did, it's mostly tournaments. Like I said, I tried to pay attention if they gave as much detail, if it was a district meet or, anything like a UIL meet. We did not count those. It was just mostly tournaments, yes.
Again, we're not checking yes on these for the
Right.
purposes of this discussion. That's just an option.
All right. The next tab I have is titled Savings, and again, this is, has to do with some of our department and district workbooks. So the first one for your consideration would be to reduce the campus library book funding from $6 per student to $3 per student. That would offer a cost savings of $29,538. We do have that selected as yes at this time. The next one would be to reduce student drug testing. We currently test around 550 students, and it would be to reduce the count to 250 students. That would be a cost savings of $47,185. It is selected yes at this time. The next would be in our chief administrative workbook. We have $45,000 that we currently have in the workbook. That was for strategic planning consulting. If we were to remove that, that would be a cost savings of $45,000. That is selected yes at this time. The next one is in our gifted and talented workbook to remove our GT testing consultants. That would be a cost savings of $22,324. Again, it is selected yes at this time. And the last one is in our curriculum and instruction workbook. We currently pay extra duty for the our teachers that have to have their GT refresher training. That could be a cost savings of $30,000. So it represents a total cost savings of $174,047. And we do have all those items at this time selected yes for the savings.
Questions on any?
Ms. Webb, I didn't know if you had a question on the previous one.
On the student travel,
Yes, ma'am.
I was looking at the gas cost of those buses that have to go back and forth. Let's say for a cross-country meet, what would be the savings, whether they stay or don't stay? Would there be a cost savings or not?
There are some cases where it wouldn't be justified to drive back and forth. For example, if somebody qualified for the state meet, driving all the way to Austin, one day to practice and then the next day to run, that obviously wouldn't be a cost savings measure because you only have one or two students that qualify. But when you have kids that qualify between the room for the coaches, male and female, room for students, and I'm talking about things like golf and tennis that have male and female involved, it would absolutely be a savings. And then the bigger teams, your softball and your baseball and all those other teams, it's a significant savings. They don't give us the hotel rooms at a huge discount. We still end up paying $110 to $140 per room.
Exactly.
So it would be a savings. Yeah. And when it's not a savings, then we would make that decision.
Any questions on the savings slide that was just presented with the different reductions?
On the reductions, when we're looking at the GT testing consultants, are we talking about those retired educators that would come in and test our GT students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if we're reducing them, are we going to go back to where the certified GT teacher would be the one testing?
Not necessarily. The discussion that we had this past week would be that as much as possible, we would organize it to where some of the curriculum coordinators would pitch in to do as much of the testing as possible. There could be situations where because of the number of students that were nominated for testing, we may have to train a teacher to help out, but as much as possible, we would try to do curriculum coordinators. The other one, Mr. Overfelt, in case somebody's thinking about it, is on the drug testing. The reason that one seemed very appropriate is because we drug test the students that either drive a vehicle to school, participate in an extracurricular activity, or a UIL activity. But I know that all of you have heard on more than one occasion, why does my son, why does my daughter keep getting picked on? They're tested 3 of the 5 times, 4 of the 4 times. Well, it's because when you're testing that many students,
It's a random.
and it's even though it's random, the pool's only so big, so it's a high possibility that you're going to get selected a lot. With the lower pool, it'll still be random, and we think it'll still be a good deterrent, at least as good of a deterrent as it's been. And I don't want anyone to think that we're doing away with GT. We're just coming up with different ways to train our teachers, train them at the beginning of the year as part of the summer training, and train them during RTI days. Just come up with different ways of training them at different times.
Thank you.
All right. The next 2 tabs are the operations and the technology tabs. These are the projects that during our first workshop, Mr. Chapa provided the sustainability workbooks for. These have not been updated since our last meeting. It has to do with the HVAC repairs, fire alarm repairs, fencing, the gym floors, some furniture replacement, interior and exterior painting, service vehicles, and some communication radios. It would be a total cost of $2,087,220 for all of the projects. At this time, we have not selected any of the projects as part of the workbook. And for technology, the same thing. It's the HVAC in the MDF room, a desktop computer refresh, and the E-rate 20% contribution for our E-rate funding. Again, if all selected, it would be a cost of $575,000. At this time, we have not selected any of the projects for the workbook.
Yes, sir.
We will have to select the E-rate because that's just something that we need to do. The thing to consider, Mr. Overfelt, members of the board, is that our fund balance, our excess fund balance, by the time everything's cleaned up, it's going to be about $10 to $11 million. So that doesn't mean that we wouldn't fix anything if emergencies that came up. The board has enough money in excess fund balance. We're just not planning to spend any of it unless we have to respond to emergencies. So it's not that we're not going to fix things, but we believe that we're going to have to put in money for health insurance, and possibly if y'all choose to provide a raise. So everything else we want to do as as needed basis, which means we would have to come to the board and say this broke and we're going to be doing this.
Any questions on technology? Okay.
Okay. The next tab we have has to do with project financing. These were options that were given if we were to borrow funds to continue any work on any projects. We have three options. The first one, these have not changed since our last presentation. The first one would be if we were to borrow $5 million. The payment would be $370,183. The second option was to borrow $7 million. That payment would be $518,187 a year. And the third option was if we were to borrow $10 million, the payment would be $740,296. Again, for the purpose of this presentation, we have not selected any of those options at this time.
Yes, sir.
Just to provide some context for the board, this money that they shared with us about borrowing, it's on a 20-year term. The money that we borrowed when we fixed the ACs at the high school and did the other energy-saving measures,
The maintenance tax.
what term was that?
I believe it's also a 20-year.
It was also 20 years. And we're in about our seventh, 8th year
Yes,
of
sir.
that? Okay, so we still have about 13 years before we
Yes.
can. Okay.
All right, so that brings us to our proposed budget tab. Just so an update on our revenue, since the last meeting, we did speak with our revenue consultants, and based on the information they provided, we did update, reduced the revenue about $500,000. So our projected revenue at this time is $107,470,616. As you can see, as we mentioned on the general pay increased, I have the 2% increases being shown, the reduction in salaries, both the options that we chose. We do not have anything in for insurance at this time. With our non-salary workbooks, as well as the savings tabs that I mentioned, the items that we selected from that. And then with the technology, the E-rate contribution, we are projecting expenses at this time of $108,936,499, which gives us a $1,465,883 deficit at this time.
Where would, Ms. Childress, where would the plug-in for insurance go when we find that out in a month or so? Is that under expenditures for increase reduction of health insurance
Yes, sir.
contribution?
On line 37 here, yes, sir.
Okay. Dr. Rios?
Mr. Overfelt, members of the board, the state TA is coming up with a funding mechanism for special education. I believe it's called tier funding?
Tier, yes, sir.
Tiered
It's going to
funding.
be 8 tiers now.
And we're applying for a grant to provide assistance in how to apply for that funding so that our funding for special education is increased. I mention that because we do have the potential of getting more money for our special education department. If the board is uncomfortable with reducing the critical needs aids, we could, as an option, start working on reducing the critical needs aids, and then wait and see how much of the funding is increased through the tiered funding, and we could postpone this decision for another year. It is going to cost money to the budget that we don't have because the state no longer, I say state, but it's really federal money for SHARS. Am I correct?
No, it is.
It's
comes
local,
through-
I'm
it's
sorry,
local.
you're
Yes,
right.
it does, yes.
That the state no longer provides, and the district is assuming that expense. It's one of those unfunded mandates, like I mentioned earlier. But if the special ed funding increases through the tiered funding and we're successful at it, well, then maybe we can forego that difficult decision. And if it doesn't increase, well, then we will be forced to make this decision the coming year and start taking measures to implement that by the coming year. It's just an option. Yeah.
Any questions coming from this side, Ms. Webb? Ms. Haynes?
No.
Mr. Almaraz? Ms. Becky?
Okay.
Okay. I know it's a lot to consider and digest, and we'll, over the next week or so, and encourage the board to look through its interactive workbook that you got the thumb drive for, and look at the different things, and if need be on a one-to-one basis, meet with Ms. Childress about if you have any questions or ideas that you'd like to share with her or Dr. Rios. And then the next, do we have one more before adoption?
So,
or-
yes, sir. So we're scheduled to have the proposed budget on Monday, this coming Monday, the 8th. And that is the one that I will use to put in the newspaper and fill out our paperwork. But we will not, then we will adopt on the 25th. But we do not have another scheduled budget workshop in between there.
Okay. So, yeah, definitely encourage our fellow board members to go through that workbook and look at it and give, would you like when would you like back our versions of the workbook? Do you need that before the 8th or before the 25th?
If you could send me by Friday, or at least if you have any, it doesn't have to be the full workbook, just maybe some options you're considering, just so I could use them to help speak with Dr. Rios and
Okay.
to put together the proposed budget, that'd be great, but we can still discuss it afterwards.
Okay. So if you have the chance to either submit your changes or submit your entire workbook to Ms. Childress by Friday, I guess by, let's call it noon on Friday, and that would be great. That way
again-
she can prepare, and Dr. Rios, they can look at what they're going to present to us next Monday.
Mr. Sanchez and I are both here the rest of the week, so all day, so if you'd like to come in and meet one-on-one with us, we're both available for that also.
Perfect. So yes, Ms. Childress and Mr. Sanchez will definitely help you all if anyone has any questions. Anything? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Webb.
Would it be possible to find out from special ed how many of the students that right now have the critical needs aids actually need them?
Because it's in the ARD package, ma'am, legally they all need it now.
Okay,
because it's been in the
it's
art.
already in the art.
Yes. Now, we could ask how many of them need a full-time versus how many of them need probably 50% of the time. That would.
Okay.
that-
Yeah. That would help a lot too, right there.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
So with that, we'll adjourn the budget workshop. We don't have anything until item 16, Human Resources, consideration to approve the updated 25-26 district compensation plans. Ms. Childress?
Good evening. This evening, we are looking at updating on the supplemental stipends for the 25-26 compensation plan under the UIL Academics Middle School sponsors. We are updating the 4 events and 5 events. Previously, we had added $250 each event after 3 events, and now we're just adding an amount there for the 4 and 5 events.
Any questions on that particular change? Recommendation?
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the updated 2025-2026 district compensation plans as presented.
For the recommendation, is there a motion to accept? Mr. Alvarez, seconded by Ms. Haynes. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
Being no other business before the board, is there a motion to adjourn? Ms. Haynes, seconded by Mr. Alvarez. All in favor? We are adjourned 6:07 PM. Thank you.